Welcome back to another episode of Bravo Charlie's. This is episode number 4, potato, ham, and bean soup. We've done 3 other episodes, chili, potato soup, and tomato soup. And if you haven't seen those, please check them out. You might like those recipes. And sticking with the soup theme, it's winter here in Pittsburgh. Sticking with the soup theme, we're gonna make another hearty soup here. If you've seen my other videos, you know I do like a hearty soup. Lots of ingredients in them, very filling. It's a meal in a bowl. So let me go over the ingredients real quick. Okay, the ingredients for our ham and bean soup. We're going to need about 2 cups, scratch that, 4 cups of, because I double this recipe, I should say that now. This is a large recipe. It's going to make 16 cups of soup. It's going to be a good stock pot full of soup. So 4 cups of diced ham, and I have a half a ham here with the bone still in it. That bone we're going to put in the soup for flavoring and take it out at the end. Don't buy a boneless ham. Get one with the bone so you can throw that in the pot for the flavor. So 4 cups of diced ham. We have our 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper, 5 tablespoons of flour, and 5 tablespoons of butter. This is going to be used later to make a roux, which will thicken it up, and I'll explain that when we get to it. It's a very simple procedure to thicken up the soup. 4 carrots that will be peeled and sliced. We need about 1 cup of diced celery. So I have about 5 stalks here. When we cut that up, we'll see what that comes to. But we need 1 cup of that. 2/3 cup of onion, diced small. Lots of potatoes. I have 7 potatoes here that I'm going to peel and put in the soup. We're going to dice these up. 2 cans of a local brand of organic Great Northern beans, just a regular white bean, 15-ounce cans, 2 of them. We're going to need 2 cups of milk for the end, and 4 cups of chicken broth. Also, we're going to need 4 cups of water. And we'll go through the ingredients slowly as I add them in as well. But this is the basic starting point. Write everything down or follow along with the video and we'll get this soup moving along. The hardest part is going to be butchering up the ham, getting the bone cut out, and getting our 4 cups of ham sliced up. Okay, let's get started. Okay, I'm going to get to work on the ham. This is the longest part, just getting all this shaved down and getting the bone out of here. I'm going to go with a regular 8-inch chef's knife and get this thing butchered up. I have a towel underneath the cutting board so it doesn't slide as easily. But let's get this thing butchered up. Okay, while we're cutting and preparing everything, we might as well get the celery going. The ham turned out good. That is the ham bone. It's inside of there. So we'll just leave all that meat on it and it'll just fall off as we're cooking it down. But let's get working on the celery. Now the easiest way to dice up some celery, you want to get it into smaller strips first. So I like to just cut it down like this. Slice it down into nice little chunks. We're just going to keep the cutting board going, get all the vegetables prepped and ready to go ahead of time. So while I was cutting all of the vegetables and meat, once I had the meat bone free, or the ham bone free, you could see some of the meat's already starting to break away from the bone. I put it in the 4 cups of chicken stock, 4 cups of water, and bring this to a fast rolling boil. You want to let this sit boiling on high heat for about 30 minutes to let the flavors start to begin to build and the meat start to fall off the bone. So leave that covered for about 30 minutes, rolling boil, high heat. Okay, we have now had the broth, water, and ham bone boiling in a rolling boil for about 30 minutes now, and it's time to add all the other ingredients. We're going to add the celery, carrots. Remember, this was 4 carrot sticks, about a cup of celery, 2/3 of a cup of onion, very common in soup, celery, carrots, onion. You really can't go wrong with the flavors. Adding all the meat. This is about 4 cups in there, so you're going to add a lot of meat in there. Add all the potatoes. And the cans of beans. I drained a little of the liquid out of there, but not a lot. Add the beans in. 2 tablespoons of salt. 2 teaspoons of pepper. And then with a big wooden spoon, just get this all mixed up. You're going to let this return to a boil. Once it comes back to a boil, turn the heat down to medium. Turn the heat down to medium, and we're just going to let it cook down. We'll know when it's done when you can puncture the potatoes with a fork and they just fall apart. You don't want to go till they're mush, but just till they break apart. And then it might not look like there's a whole lot of liquid in here. You might be tempted to add more water or broth at this time, but remember we're going to add 4 cups of milk. I think I said 2 at the beginning. I forgot that once again that I was doubling this recipe, so it's going to be 4 more cups of milk going in here. So just with the lid off, let this return to a boil, and while we're doing that, I'm going to show you, while we're waiting for this to return to a boil, I'm going to show you how to make a roux. A roux is nothing more than flour and butter. Equal parts flour to equal parts butter. 5 tablespoons of butter, 5 tablespoons of flour. We're going to melt the butter down, add the flour, and you're going to cook it until it has a almost a nutty smell coming from it. It'll look kind of brown. You don't want to burn it. I'll show you. It's going to have a caramel color to it when it's done. And then you're going to add the milk and the roux to this, and it's going to thicken it up nicely. But I'm going to let this return to a boil, and I'll bring the camera over here, zoom in, show you how to make the roux while we're waiting for this to boil and simmer. Okay, I'm going to call an audible with the line of scrimmage, and I'm going to try something different that I haven't done before. Instead of 5 tablespoons of butter, I'm going to go with 4. And for a while now, when I make bacon in the morning on the weekends, I save the leftover bacon fat. So since we have ham in the soup itself, why not add a tablespoon of bacon fat? You want to keep this on medium heat. You don't want to go real crazy with this because you don't want to burn the butter. A roux is just a thickening agent for soups, for gravies. There's many ways to do a thickening agent, but considering we want a very creamy soup, this butter and bacon fat, as we would have it, this butter and bacon fat is going to be a great creamy thickening agent to put in our soup. So now that we have everything melted, we are going to whisk in the butter a little bit at a time. Our pot of soup has already returned to a boil, and I turned it down to a simmer. Okay, I almost made a mistake and I caught myself. I forgot once again that I'm doubling this recipe. So I said 5 tablespoons of flour, 5 tablespoons of butter. However, we're doubling this. So instead of 2 cups of milk going in here, it's going to be 4 cups of milk. So I put this in a bigger pan so we don't spill. I added the additional butter and another tablespoon of the bacon grease. And now we just have to get in, that's 3. I'm going to whisk those in there. 4 and 5. So now we have we have 8 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of the bacon grease. You could by all means just go with, if you don't have the bacon grease, which I understand that, just go with 10 tablespoons of butter and 10 tablespoons of flour. Okay, after a minute here you could see this is bubbling, everything's mixed together, it's real thick. So we're going to add in the milk slowly. Now once this returns to a boil again, it's going to take about 4 to 5 minutes, it's going to get thick. I'm pouring half of it in. Remember, we're using 4 cups of milk. Okay, we're back. And you can see this is thickened up, and you want it to be the thickness of pancake batter. You have to be careful, you can't let this over thicken up because then it'll ruin your soup. But if you look, that's about the consistency of pancake batter. But let's turn this off now, and you can see it's like a thick gravy consistency or a pancake batter. That's what you want. Okay, we are back at the soup. It's been cooking for quite a while. The ham bone, you can see the marrow inside is starting to melt away. A lot of the meat on the bone has fallen off. And what I was telling you before about the potatoes, just to check how done it is, get a potato on a spoon, put a fork through it, it's starting to come apart pretty easy. So we don't have much more cooking time left. So let's take our milk mixture, pour that in the soup. This is why you need this large stock pot for this soup, especially if you're going to double it. I'm going to turn the soup down to medium. It doesn't need to be at a rolling boil anymore. And you're just slowly going to work in the milk mixture. And let this simmer for about 10 minutes. And then we'll check the flavoring, see if we need to add anything to it. Okay, so the soup has returned to a boil. I did taste it already, and it needed a little more salt and pepper to it, so I added about a tablespoon of salt and maybe a half a teaspoon of fresh cracked pepper. And you can see when I put a fork through the potato, it just sort of breaks apart. So the soup is done. It's been simmering for about another 10 minutes now that we added the milk mixture. The soup is done. The ham bone is out. Our soup is done. Okay, here we are with our great soup. The ham, beans, potatoes, all the vegetables. It's very hearty. I got some fresh bread last night while I was out getting the groceries for today for the cooking. Remember, we're going to keep doing the soup episodes. I got one more to go. It's going to be... Oh, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe someone's calling me right in the middle of filming the ending of this episode. What? No, I hate to tell you, but your canned soup is not as good as homemade. No, really, leave me alone. I'm getting this number disconnected. Your canned soup stinks. Homemade is much better. Goodbye. Ugh, I've had enough of those people. Canned soup is not as good as homemade, okay? No matter what the commercials say, no matter how good the cans look, come on, this is so much better. I just couldn't take it anymore, just threw the phone away. That's it. I'm done with those people forever. Homemade soup, nothing beats it. See you next time.